Impact on emerging market economies. Emerging markets are typically highly dependent on USD capital and trade. So the following issues caused by USD depreciation and the loose US monetary policy are especially prominent. 1. Increased debt burden. Many emerging market countries issue debt in USD, and when the USD depreciates, these countries face higher refinancing costs and exchange rate risks. Short-term prosperity driven by capital inflows may mask structural issues, but when capital flows out, economic vulnerabilities become exposed. 2. Food crisis and social instability. Global commodity prices are significantly affected by the USD. When the USD depreciates, commodity prices usually rise, leading to surging food prices. Countries heavily reliant on food imports face increased living pressures, widening income inequality, and even social unrest. Impact on ordinary people's lives. The USD depreciation due to US money printing directly impacts ordinary people's lives through price fluctuations in goods and services. 1. Decreased purchasing power of savings. Individuals holding USD savings experience a reduction in wealth as the USD depreciates, causing a sharp decline in real purchasing power. 2. Soaring prices. Inflation transmitted through international markets causes prices of food, energy, and consumer goods to rise across the board, especially in low-income countries, threatening people's basic livelihood. 3. Increased social tensions. Inflation and rising living costs lead to greater public dissatisfaction with governments, which can escalate social tensions and even trigger political instability. Global economic and financial system turmoil. 1. Global trust crisis. The USD's status as the global reserve currency has been questioned. The massive money printing undermines confidence in the USD, and some countries may begin to seek alternative currencies, e.g., RMB or Euro. 2. Increased regional economic risks. In the context of USD depreciation, regional economies reliant on USD transactions may face economic contraction, especially commodity exporting countries and emerging markets with open financial markets. 3. Increased difficulty in international coordination. Countries adopting different monetary policies to protect their own interests may exacerbate economic fragmentation, presenting more obstacles to global economic recovery. Typical cases: 1970s USD depreciation and the oil crisis. After the U.S. abandoned the gold standard, massive money printing led to USD depreciation, pushing oil prices to soar and causing a global stagflation. Post-2008 financial crisis. Quantitative easing. The U.S. printed large amounts of money, which alleviated domestic economic pressures but pushed global asset prices higher, especially in real estate and stocks. Later, capital outflows triggered severe economic turbulence. Conclusion. Although U.S. large-scale money printing benefited its economic recovery in the short term, it caused significant harm to the global economy and the financial stability of other countries. Specifically, for emerging market countries holding USD reserves and low-income groups, the inflation and wealth erosion caused by USD depreciation directly threaten their livelihood and development. The international community urgently needs to strengthen coordination, push for reforms in the global financial system, and reduce over-reliance on a single currency to achieve more balanced and sustainable economic development. Next, we will focus on the causes and harms of the 2008 financial crisis. U.S. government mishandling of real estate financial policies, particularly actions before the subprime mortgage crisis, had a profound impact on global financial markets. 1. Lowering loan qualification standards. From the late 1990s to the early 2000s, the U.S. government loosened loan qualification standards for short-term economic growth and better economic performance. The government passed laws like the American Dream Down Payment Act and Zero Down Payment Act to reduce down payment requirements, allowing more low-income households to obtain mortgages, which temporarily stimulated the real estate market. 2. Financial institutions' reckless speculation. Financial institutions took advantage of government lax policies to speculate recklessly on financial derivatives related to real estate. These products, including mortgage-backed securities (MBS) and collateralized debt obligations (CDOs), were packaged and sold to global investors. Since the actual risks of these products were underestimated, when the real estate market began to decline, the value of these derivatives plummeted, causing turmoil in global financial markets. 3. Unregulated trading of financial derivatives. In the U.S., the trading of financial derivatives lacked effective regulation, leading market participants to underestimate the risks of these products. Financial institutions ignored the systemic risks of these products in pursuit of high profits, eventually causing the global financial crisis in April 2008. Neglecting real value. During the real estate and financial market frenzy, very few people cared about the actual value of these assets. Housing prices were constantly pushed higher, and the financial derivatives based on these prices were also overvalued. When the market eventually realized these assets were worth far less than their market prices, the bubble burst, triggering a chain reaction that led to a global financial crisis. Global impact. Global stock markets plummeted, with January 21, 2008, being dubbed Black Monday. Multiple countries experienced severe economic recessions and rising unemployment rates. The global securities market lost nearly $32 trillion, equivalent to the GDP of the G7 countries in 2008. 2. Deteriorating wealth distribution. Financial capital took the opportunity to aggressively acquire global social wealth. The wealth gap widened, with about 100 million people in developing countries pushed into poverty. 3. Consequences of monetary policy. The U.S. implemented quantitative easing, printing massive amounts of money. This led to global currency depreciation and financial turmoil. In recent years, severe inflation has emerged. 4. Unfair burden distribution. Ordinary people in developing countries bore most of the economic losses. Financial giants accumulated massive wealth amid market turmoil. This crisis highlighted the vulnerability of the global financial system and the far-reaching impact of U.S. financial policies on the global economy. It also sparked deep reflection on financial regulation, global economic governance, and wealth distribution fairness. Financial giants manipulating markets and plundering global wealth through interest rate cycles. 1. Using information advantage. Maintaining close contact with government officials to gain insider information on monetary policies. Hiring former government officials to leverage their networks for policy developments. Using high-frequency trading systems to trade ahead of policy announcements. 2. Manipulating market expectations. Using media influence to release misleading analytical reports. Spreading false information on social media to create market panic. Making large trades to guide market sentiment and induce other investors to follow suit. 3. Leveraging to amplify profits. Using complex financial derivatives to increase leverage and amplify profits. Using offshore financial centers to avoid regulation and engage in high-risk investments. Using the shadow banking system to obtain large amounts of low-cost funds. 4. Profiting from short selling. Using credit default swaps (CDS) to short sell sovereign debt. Short selling ETFs and other financial products to profit from overall market declines. Using short selling mechanisms to suppress target company stock prices for hostile takeovers. 5. Arbitrage through cross-border capital flow. Using carry trade to engage in high-frequency trading between different markets. Using offshore markets to circumvent capital controls. Arbitraging currency swap transactions using interest rate differentials across countries. 6. Acquiring cheap assets. Acquiring undervalued assets during financial crises. Taking advantage of debt restructuring opportunities to gain control of quality enterprises. These behaviors not only disrupted the order of financial markets but also exacerbated the global wealth gap. Financial giants profited immensely from market fluctuations, while ordinary investors and developing countries often became the biggest victims. To curb these predatory behaviors, governments need to strengthen financial regulation, improve market rules, increase transparency in financial transactions, and enhance international cooperation to address global financial risks. 2. Geopolitical interference. Inciting regional conflicts. The U.S. frequently intervenes in regions such as the Middle East and East Asia, exacerbating tensions to maintain its own interests. U.S. strategies in the Arab Spring and Iraq War. 1. Arab Spring. Intervening through NGOs and foundations to train activists. Using the internet to promote revolutions, training nonviolent protest leaders. Controlling Western media narratives to portray movements as spontaneous revolutions. 2. Iraq War. In 2003, launching the Iraq War under the guise of anti-terrorism. Overthrowing Saddam Hussein's regime and establishing a pro-U.S. government. Harms. 1. Exacerbating regional turmoil. U.S. intervention worsened instability in the Middle East, plunging many countries into chaos. 2. Humanitarian crisis. Wars and conflicts led to significant civilian casualties and refugee issues. 3. Spread of extremism. U.S. policies indirectly fueled the rise of extremist organizations. 4. Damaging U.S. image. Intervention sparked anti-American sentiment among regional populations. 5. Imbalance in regional order. U.S. intervention disrupted the existing balance of power in the Middle East. In conclusion, U.S. interventions in the Middle East, though claiming to promote democracy and stability, have instead fueled long-term geopolitical instability. These interventions, along with their geopolitical strategies, caused immense harm to affected countries and worsened regional crises. The United States often engages in wars and intervenes in conflicts to protect its own interests rather than genuinely resolving disputes. This behavior is primarily reflected in the following aspects. 1. Arms. As the world's largest arms exporter, the U.S. expands its weapons market through wars and conflicts. For instance, during the ongoing turmoil in the Middle East, the U.S. has sold large quantities of weapons to countries like Saudi Arabia. 2. Enhancing geopolitical influence through military intervention, the U.S. maintains its presence in key regions. For example, during the war in Afghanistan, the U.S. established multiple military bases in Central Asia. 3. Creating dependency. Providing military aid and protection. The U.S. makes certain countries dependent on its security support. For instance, the U.S. military presence in East Asia has made countries like Japan reliant on it for security. 4. Sustaining the military-industrial complex. Conscious wars and conflicts provide a steady stream of orders and profits for the U.S.'s massive military-industrial complex. 5. Diverting domestic attention. Foreign military actions are sometimes used to divert attention from domestic political and economic issues. This approach not only fails to resolve conflicts but exacerbates regional instability, causing significant civilian casualties and refugee crises. It also damages the U.S.'s international reputation and fuels widespread anti-American sentiment.